Greetings, fellow truth-seekers and dissenters. Let me begin by recounting the recent sequence of events with unfiltered clarity. First, I released a video lampooning that radical Catholic group, satire as raw as the machinery of injustice itself. I then shared the video on Twitter with a so-called true Orthodox priest, expecting a robust exchange of ideas. Instead, this priest, in his self-appointed role as arbiter of grace, coldly declared, "Don't send me anything ever again." Not long after, our good friend cyber prophet Dave stepped into the breach with a defense video, a passionate riposte condemning the priest's ungracious behavior. Dave's message was simple. It's utterly unacceptable when those who claim to embody grace and compassion fail to extend it to a fellow seeker of truth. And then, as if to twist the knife further, @Unseen Warfare jumped in with a dismissive jab. "Oh, cry about it. Piety signaling." Now, let me be crystal clear. That accusation of piety signaling was hurled at cyber prophet Dave, specifically for calling out the priest's failure to treat others with the grace he so desperately preaches. It wasn't a baseless quip aimed at empty self-righteousness. It was a feeble attempt to undercut Dave's heartfelt criticism of an ungracious act by someone who should know better. When cyber prophet Dave decried the lack of genuine compassion in that priest's curt dismissal, he wasn't strutting about piety to impress the masses. He was, in fact, highlighting the absurdity of a man who touts divine grace yet denies it to those in need. To reduce such a substantive critique to a buzzword like piety signaling is as shallow as a dried-up honeypot in a barren glade. Our exchange, saturated with the vibrant, unyielding spirit of truth, isn't about mindless ecumenism. It's about exposing hypocrisy in all its monstrous forms. Dave's call for genuine grace was not a performance for the approval of the sanctimoniously indifferent. It was a demand for the kind of compassion our ancient traditions, in their truest form, ought to exemplify. And if reducing a call for true, heartfelt grace to a mere insult is what our detractors prefer, then they have clearly lost sight of the very essence of our mission. Let it be known, we are not here to pander to hollow, self-serving posturing. We stand for a robust, uncompromising engagement with reality, one that challenges the forces of institutional indifference and holds them accountable for their actions. And if our voices ruffle the feathers of those who would hide behind empty labels and bureaucratic niceties, so be it. So to Unseen Warfare, and all who choose to dismiss meaningful critique with a sneer. Ask yourselves if your words are building bridges or merely reinforcing walls of prejudice. Cyber prophet Dave's message was a clarion call against ungraciousness, a call to demand that even those in positions of spiritual authority must embody the grace they preach. And, dear viewers, should any digital censor decide to mute these unsparing truths, remember, you can always find me, the irreverent, indefatigable Allistair Cognitus, continuing this crusade at Toddcombs.net. There, alongside the young chap and our ever-bold Tiny Tim, we keep the flame of unfiltered satire burning bright. Stay defiant, stay enlightened, and never let empty labels silence the true call for truth. P.S. As an aside, it's worth noting that the words of that so-called Orthodox priest are themselves deeply problematic. First off, his use of the phrase unfunny autism isn't merely a clumsy insult, it's downright offensive and shows a complete disregard for the dignity of individuals with autism and their families. Then there's his dismissive attitude, snuffing out the parody without so much as a proper engagement, an act that reeks of closed-mindedness and an unwillingness to entertain even the notion of satire as valid criticism. And let's not forget the sarcastic, hostile tone he employed. That's like wasting time, squared, don't send me things ever again, which comes off as uncharitable and unnecessarily harsh. In sum, these elements combine to make his response not just misguided, but potentially offensive to a wider audience than he might care to admit.